Did you know your body might be sending quiet signals that the end is near, and most families miss them until it's too late? It's not always pain or dramatic illness. Sometimes it's something as subtle as sleeping more during the day or losing interest in your favorite Sunday meal. And because these signs feel so ordinary, we dismiss them until the doctor says there's not much time left. In this video, I'll walk you through the 7 early warning signs that hospice doctors from Johns Hopkins and Mayo Clinic say often appear months before the final chapter. They're easy to recognize, and knowing them might just help you bring peace, clarity, and comfort when it matters most. Don't ignore these signs. They could be the only whisper your loved one gives you. Before we begin, I'd love to know where are you watching from and what time is it right now. Or simply comment the word hope below if you believe in caring with love, not fear. If you find this helpful, hit subscribe to catch more simple, compassionate health tips. Now, stay with me because the next 30 seconds might open your eyes to something truly life-changing. The first sign is one many families miss because it looks like simple tiredness. But when a senior suddenly starts sleeping much more during the day or becomes restless and wide awake at night, it might not just be age catching up. I remember speaking with Harold, an 81-year-old from Tennessee. He used to enjoy his afternoon TV shows, especially baseball replays, but slowly his daughter noticed he kept dozing off before the second inning even started. Within a few weeks, he was sleeping 18 hours a day and wide awake at 2 or 3 o'clock a.m., pacing the house in silence. His family thought it was just boredom, but doctors later explained that his body was shifting into a different phase, one that often appears in the final months of life. As we get older, our body naturally begins to conserve energy. But when it begins shutting down deeper systems like digestion, circulation, even brain activity, it starts by changing the sleep cycle. According to Harvard Medical School, the brain's internal clock begins to misfire. Day becomes night. Night becomes a blur. It's not a disorder, it's a signal. The problem is when we don't recognize this change, we miss the chance to adjust, care more comfort, or simply be present during important moments. We may even feel frustrated with our loved one when in fact they're already transitioning. But here's what you can do. Start tracking their sleep today. Not with fancy gadgets, just a small notebook. Note how many hours they sleep at night and how often they nap during the day. If it's more than 15 to 16 hours a day for over a week, talk to their doctor. Sometimes just noticing the change early can help guide the next step with clarity and peace. And remember this, recognizing this sign doesn't mean giving up. It means you're choosing to care wisely. Because sometimes love looks like knowing when to sit beside someone quietly while they rest a little longer than before. Stay with me in a moment. We'll explore another sign that many mistake for simple forgetfulness, but it may be something deeper. The second sign is one that breaks many hearts, and yet, it often slips by unnoticed. When a loved one stops enjoying their favorite meals or quietly pushes their plate away after just a few bites, we often think maybe they're just tired. Maybe their taste is changing, but sometimes it's something deeper. I'll never forget Ethel, a sweet 82-year-old from Michigan. For more than 60 years, she made apple pie every Sunday. It was her signature, warm with cinnamon and love. But one day, she barely touched her slice. And the next week, she didn't even ask about dessert. Within 2 months, she'd lost over 15 pounds. Her daughter thought it might be depression or a medication side effect, but the doctors explained something harder to hear. Ethel was in the final chapter of her life, and her body was quietly letting go. You see, as we age, and especially in the months leading up to the end, the body begins to shift how it uses energy. According to Mayo Clinic's palliative care team, the digestive system naturally slows down. It's not sadness or stubbornness. It's biology. The body no longer prioritizes food. Instead, it focuses energy on keeping vital systems running for as long as it can. That's why favorites suddenly lose flavor, why familiar smells become too much. It's not about being picky. It's a signal. So, what can you do? First, don't force food. That can cause more discomfort than good. Instead, offer small portions of comforting foods like a spoonful of mashed potatoes, a soft fruit cup, or a warm broth. Track how much they eat gently with no pressure. Ask your doctor if appetite changes have lasted over a week, especially if there's weight loss. More than anything, be present, sit beside them, share the quiet. Let the meal be about comfort, not calories. Because sometimes love isn't found in a full plate, but in a gentle smile, a shared memory, and knowing when to simply hold someone's hand. Coming up next, we'll talk about something many families mistake for loneliness, but may actually be part of the body's deeper preparation. The third sign is easy to miss, especially when it looks like someone just needs a little time alone. But when a person who used to love phone calls, Sunday dinners, or even just chatting on the porch suddenly becomes quiet, it may be more than a bad mood. Let me tell you about Franklin from Ohio. He was 84 and never missed a Friday poker night with his friends. Rain or shine, he'd show up with his lucky hat and a pocket full of peppermints. Then one day, he skipped a game, and the next week he didn't return his grandson's call. His daughter thought he was just tired, maybe a little off. But as weeks went by, Franklin kept pulling away. No more family gatherings, no more visits with the neighbor across the street. Eventually, doctors told his family gently that Franklin was beginning a natural shift, one that many people go through near the end of life. You see, as shared by palliative care specialists at Johns Hopkins, social withdrawal isn't always depression. Sometimes it's the body and mind turning inward, a way of preparing, letting go slowly and quietly. If we don't recognize this change, we might feel hurt or worse, try to force connection when our loved one may simply need quiet company, not big conversations. And we miss the chance to offer what matters most, presence without pressure. So what can you do? Keep the door open. Offer moments, not expectations. A short hello, a warm hand on theirs, sitting quietly in the same room, maybe just listening to music together. And most of all, don't take it personally. It's not rejection, it's reflection. If someone you love has started pulling away, ask yourself gently, are they trying to be alone, or are they trying to find peace in their own way? Sometimes caring isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but doing it with more love. Stay with me in the next part. We'll explore a surprising mental change that families often confuse with dementia, but it may mean something very different. The fourth sign might seem unusual and even a little spooky at first, but it's more common than you think. If someone you love starts having soft conversations with people who passed away long ago, or seems to drift between clarity and confusion, don't panic. It doesn't always mean dementia. Let me tell you about Vernon, an 86-year-old gentleman from Florida. He was still sharp in many ways, remembered his grandkids' birthdays, could recall old songs, even talk politics with the mailman. But in the evenings, his daughter began hearing him talk softly in the living room. At first, she thought he was on the phone. Then she heard him say, "Martha, I know you're here." Martha was his wife who'd passed away 6 years ago. She was heartbroken. She feared the worst: memory loss, Alzheimer's, confusion. But after speaking with hospice specialists, she learned something deeper was happening. Then she heard him say, "Martha, I know you're here." Martha was his wife who'd passed away 6 years ago. She was heartbroken. She feared the worst: memory loss, Alzheimer's, confusion. But after speaking with hospice specialists, she learned something deeper was happening. The mistake many families make is correcting their loved one, saying, "Mom, that's not real," or "Dad, you're confused," but that often causes distress or worse, fear. Instead, try this. Sit with them. Listen. If they're smiling, let them. If they're remembering something sweet, ask them to tell you more. Write it down. These could be memories they never shared before, small gifts wrapped in fragile moments. So, if this happens, don't see it as something broken. It might just be something sacred. In just a moment, we'll talk about another sign, one that shows up not in words, but in the body's strength or sudden loss of it. You'll want to stay with me for that one. The fifth sign is when we often brush off until it's too hard to ignore. When someone suddenly finds it exhausting just to stand up, or needs help with things they've done for years, like pouring a cup of coffee or buttoning a shirt. It's not just getting older, it may be something more serious. Carmen, an 83-year-old from Texas, used to walk to her mailbox every morning and water her roses with a quiet sense of pride. Then one spring morning, Her daughter noticed Carmen was struggling to lift herself out of her chair. A few days later, she needed help getting to the bathroom. She hadn't fallen. She wasn't sick, but something had changed. After a visit with her doctor, they learned the truth. Her body was beginning to shut down gently, gradually, and it was showing in her strength. Experts from the American Geriatric Society explained that in the final months of life, the body often pulls energy away from muscles to keep vital organs going. That means even with rest and food, muscle strength fades. It's not laziness. It's not weakness of will. It's the body doing what it needs to do, one quiet shift at a time. The danger is if we don't notice this loss of strength, we may push our loved ones too hard. Expecting them to keep moving or just try a little harder can lead to falls, injuries, and deep emotional frustration on both sides. Worse yet, it might make them feel like they're failing. Here's what helps instead. Start with safety. Remove rugs that slide. Install grab bars near the toilet and shower. Place chairs where they can rest often. And most of all, change the expectation. Let them do what they can, but support what they can't with grace, not guilt. If someone you love is suddenly losing strength, don't ignore it. See it as a message their body is asking for gentleness. And in just a moment, we'll talk about one more message the body sends, not through movement, but through breath. Stay with me. You'll want to hear this next part. The sixth sign is quiet, but it can take your breath away, literally. When someone you love starts breathing differently, shallow, fast, or with long pauses between each breath, it's not just old age catching up. It may be a signal that the body is beginning to slow down in a much deeper way. I remember Raymond from Georgia, 79, retired firefighter, strong as an oak even in his later years. His wife Elaine told me that during his afternoon naps, his breathing had changed. He'd breathe quickly for a few minutes, then suddenly stop. She'd hold her own breath, waiting, and just when she was about to touch his shoulder, he'd take another soft breath like nothing happened. It frightened her, but she didn't want to overreact. Doctors later explained it wasn't an emergency. According to the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, breathing changes are common in the final months or weeks of life. As the lungs and heart begin working less efficiently, the body starts adjusting, conserving energy, shifting rhythms. This can cause patterns like Cheyne-Stokes breathing, where breaths come in clusters followed by pauses. Now, here's the important part. When we don't recognize these changes for what they are, we often rush to the hospital or push for treatments that may not bring comfort, just more stress. But if we understand it's a natural part of the process, we can focus on what really matters: easing discomfort, creating peace, and simply being present. If you notice this kind of breathing, here's what helps. Keep the room calm and quiet. Gently elevate the head with pillows to help airflow. Sometimes a fan or open window can provide soothing comfort. And talk to their doctor or a hospice nurse, not to fix, but to guide care in the gentlest way. Raymond's wife said that once she understood what was happening, she no longer sat in fear. She sat with love, holding his hand, listening to the soft rhythm of his breathing, knowing she was doing exactly what he needed. Stay with me, because in the next part we'll explore a sign that's emotional, not physical, but just as powerful. The seventh sign is often overlooked because it doesn't show up in the body. It shows up in the heart. When someone you love suddenly starts talking about old regrets, giving away special belongings, or wanting to call someone they haven't spoken to in years, it might not be random. It could be a quiet sign that they feel something is drawing to a close. Lawrence, an 85-year-old from Nevada, surprised his family one morning by asking to speak to his brother, a man he hadn't spoken to in 15 years. No one remembered why they'd stopped talking, but Lawrence remembered the silence, and he said it just doesn't sit right anymore. He also began handing out his old tools. Each one had a story. "This one's for Jason. He always watched me work with it," he said, smiling. His daughter worried. She thought maybe he was giving up, but his hospice nurse gently explained this was part of emotional preparation. According to the National Institute on Aging, many people nearing life's end feel a deep need to resolve what's unfinished, not just practically, but spiritually. It helps them let go in peace and helps loved ones find meaning in the moment. If we ignore this, We may miss the chance to connect at the deepest level where words carry weight and silence carries comfort. So, here's what we can do. When your loved one brings up a name, a memory, or a wish, don't dismiss it. Help them write that letter. Make the call. Listen to the story, even if you've heard it before. And if they want to give something away, let them. That object might mean nothing to you, but everything to them. Because sometimes the last thing someone needs is not more medicine, but a moment of peace, a word forgiven, a legacy passed on. Coming up next, we'll reflect on everything we've shared and how these quiet signs once noticed can change how we love and care right to the very end. A glance, a pause, a quiet gaze that says, "Don't leave just yet." And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it entirely. I remember Margaret, a 78-year-old from Wisconsin. She wasn't one to complain or ask for much. But in her last few weeks, every time her daughter got up to leave the room, Margaret would look at her not with sadness or fear, but with a kind of softness, not clinging, just hoping someone would stay a little longer. It wasn't until later that her daughter realized those looks were her mother's way of saying, "I don't want to be alone right now." According to research shared by Harvard Health and AARP, many seniors, especially in the later stages of illness, may stop talking as much, but their emotional needs don't fade. In fact, they often grow stronger. They may no longer ask directly for company, but their eyes, their body language still speak volumes. And here's the thing. If we overlook these silent requests, we risk leaving them in emotional isolation, even while standing just a few feet away. It's not about conversation or keeping them entertained. It's about presence. So, what can you do? You don't need the perfect words. You don't even need to say much. Just sit, hold their hand, read aloud from an old letter, put on a song they used to love. Even 5 minutes of quiet presence can make a person feel seen, safe, and loved. If someone close to you has been quieter than usual, watch their eyes. They may be asking you to stay because in the end, it's not the big gestures we remember. It's the small ones, the shared silences, the soft glances that tell us even without words, "I'm still here and I still need you." In our final reflection, let's pull everything together to remind ourselves that recognizing these signs isn't about fear, but about love in its most human form. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope today's message reminded you that even the quietest signs can hold deep meaning and that with a little attention and love, we can bring peace, dignity, and connection to those final chapters of life. If something in this video touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share your thoughts or simply type the word hope in the comments to remind yourself and others that we're never alone on this journey. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and share this video with someone who might need it. A friend, a neighbor, or a family member walking a similar path. Until next time, may your days be gentle, your moments be meaningful, and may you always feel surrounded by love, even in the quiet.